We'll start with a name out of Seattle that has been brought up to many teams' attention. I think is a very hot topic of conversation right now because the Seattle Seahawks are looking at him and saying, maybe it's time to move on. When asked about the situation, Seahawks head coach said, I don't know. We'll address it in a month, whether or not Tyler Lockett, multiple-time All-Pro, is going to return to the Seahawks or be let go and sent into free agency. He's 32 years old. He's coming off a season where he started 14 out of 17 games. He had 600 yards and 2 touchdowns. The year before that, it was just under 900 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns, I believe. Again, he's 32, but he is a guy who's had 4, 5, I believe, 1,000-yard seasons in the NFL, has made his name, has at least 3 All-Pro odds, is a dude who's won a Super Bowl, who was the guy for Russell Wilson for a long time, and now may be the guy for Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I was waiting for the phone call that said, hey, the Steelers are signing Ben Roethlisberger. Got him out of retirement. At least that's what the reports say. Who knows who his quarterback's going to be, but he's been a very reliable set of hands. I think it fits the mold of a Cooper Kupp. It fits the mold maybe of a Deebo Samuel, or at least Deebo's walking that line of a veteran bridge player who probably doesn't come with any more upside than you already know he has, but whose ceiling is probably high enough to feel comfortable with the situation, is a player who is going to start or at bare minimum be a third off the bench, who you're going to rely on in those big moments, and to be a steady set of hands, a steady option for possibly a younger option in Justin Fields at quarterback. I don't hate the idea. I honestly think it might work for the Steelers and where they are and what they're trying to do at some point. And I know that everybody sees this in different lights, but if you are looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now and saying they need to go young, they need to be a team that builds for the future, I am all on board with that. But you have to take your excess money and make some decisions to say we need veterans as well. A team can't be all rookies. It can't be all players under 25 years old. That never works out. And when it does, it takes a little while. The Eagles are a prime example of this. They have a ton of young guys and those core veterans that you need pretty much on every level. The Steelers don't have a lot of those veterans on the offensive side of the ball. They need those veterans on the offensive side of the ball. I think a Tyler Lockett might fit that mold. I'm not all in on Tyler Lockett. The money plays a big role in here, but I do think Tyler Lockett moves up a list if he does become available for the Steelers. I don't think he passes Chris Godwin or T. Higgins or Darius Slayton, but I do think he surpasses names like Deebo Samuel. He surpasses names like Amari Cooper. Anybody who you could look at and say, reliable, great. But what's the upside? I think Tyler Lockett's upside currently is better than all of them, maybe floating around the same mark as Cooper Kupp, and brings a good set of hands. Your thoughts on a name we haven't mentioned here in Tyler Lockett?
Yeah, if he is truly for sale, I think it's a name that immediately becomes top 5 option for the Steelers, especially because of something you didn't mention there, is he fits the exact mold of a Calvin Austin. Maybe not a Roman Wilson, because Wilson, you would imagine, is going to play the majority of his snaps from the inside. Tyler Lockett is an undersized receiver that a lot of people are probably just going to, because of his size, peg as, hey, he's a slot guy, but he's not. He's an undersized outside receiver, and that's exactly what Calvin Austin is as well. Everybody tries to put him in a box as saying is a slot receiver. He's just an inside the receiver. Calvin Austin is an outside receiver. So bringing in a guy like Lockett, somebody who had to make it work with his size and did it at a very high level for a very long time, would help Calvin Austin. I think it would help Roman Wilson as well, because Lockett is predicated on route running and getting open and creating separation that way. So I like that for that reason. And I also like the fact that while his numbers have dipped, it's mainly because he's been replaced in the order in Seattle. It's not that maybe age has caught up to him a little bit, but more so, it's probably that JSN has swapped with him when it comes to number 2 versus number 3 receiver in Seattle. So I like him as a top 5 option. I think it's, again, when you're looking at pure performance, I still would rather take Cooper Kupp, considering the age is the same and the money is the same. I think Cooper Kupp has a little bit more to give when it comes to his solo performance. But I think as far as what you can do for the rest of the room, I do like Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, I agree. Cooper Kupp's my guy if you could get him for a 5th round pick or less. If you go higher than that and your options are Tyler Lockett in free agency and you keep a 4th round pick or Cooper Kupp, I think I'd go Tyler Lockett. But I agree with you that Cooper Kupp still stands as the guy that brings and adds the most value of the veterans, like the older veterans that the Steelers can go out and acquire. I also think he helps with these guys. But Tyler Lockett's helped. I mean, I get it. Wide receivers don't have coaching trees, but Tyler Lockett's helped evolve DK Metcalf. He's helped take Jackson Smith-Njigba to a whole new level from year 1 to year 2. And I get he was a strong performer as a rookie. You got to credit the veterans around him, especially. I mean, you could say whatever you want about Geno Smith. Let's not sit around and act like Geno Smith is the greatest quarterback of all time and he's the reason that these wide receivers are great. The Seahawks have dealt with some issues on offense, and their wide receiver core has continued to shine. I mean, they even had, who was that, Bobo dude or something 2 years ago? Maybe last year? Some random guy that came up that was all over my Twitter timeline. For some reason, I got sucked into a Seahawks algorithm for a couple of weeks, and he was the guy.
Jake Bobo.
Jake Bobo. That's just a random name, but another name that shows that Tyler Lockett does have the capabilities of kind of advancing guys, helping guys learn. I think that's massive for Calvin Austin. I think it's massive for Roman Wilson, who I think some people have written off in this equation when realistically he is the only piece right now that you look at as the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who has a long-term chance of sticking around. That could be big. I like Cooper Kupp. I like Tyler Lockett, though. I think he fits in that mold. I categorize people. You know, people will ask, who are your top options? Who's this? Who's that? T. Higgins stands in a class of his own. He is the guy. You go get the guy. But I think Darius Slayton, I think Christian Kirk kind of sit in that middle tier. And then you go to the older guys who are in their own tier. And it's Debo, it's Cooper Kupp, it's Tyler Lockett, it's Amari Cooper. Chris Godwin would probably be somewhere in the middle of T. Higgins and Darius Slayton in them. And I think Tyler Lockett sits second on my older veterans list. And I think he fits pretty well there.